A genius is not the person who speaks the fastest. A genius is the person who thinks clearly before every word leaves their mouth. Have you ever noticed that the people everyone listens to don't always talk the most? They simply know what to say at the right moment. While others rush to answer, they take control of their thoughts first. That is the real secret behind speaking with confidence. In this video, you'll learn how to train your mind to think faster before you speak. Stay calm when you're put on the spot, organize your thoughts in seconds, and give answers that sound clear, smart, and natural. These are simple habits you can use in everyday conversations with family, friends, co-workers, or anyone you meet. If you've ever forgotten the right words, felt nervous during an important conversation, or thought of the perfect answer after it was already too late, this video is for you. Watch until the end, because one small change in the way you think before speaking can completely change the way people listen to you. Chapter 1. Stop speaking before your brain catches up. Every problem with speaking begins long before the first word comes out of your mouth. Most people believe they have a speaking problem. They don't. They have a thinking problem. Their mouth simply follows what their mind is doing. If the mind is rushed, the words become rushed. If the mind is confused, the words become confused. If the mind is calm, the words become calm. Success in conversation is never an accident. It begins with what happens in the few seconds before you decide to speak. Many people lose opportunities not because they are not intelligent, but because they answer too quickly. They hear a question and feel pressure. They believe silence is dangerous. They think if they do not answer immediately, people will think they know nothing, so they speak before their brain has finished its work. The result is simple. They say something they did not really mean. They forget important details. They explain poorly. Later they walk away thinking about what they should have said. That feeling is familiar to almost everyone. Hours later, the perfect answer appears in your mind. You replay the conversation while driving home or lying in bed. Suddenly, every word sounds clear. Every idea comes together. You wonder why you could not think like that when the conversation was happening. The answer is not that you lack ability. The answer is that your mind never had enough time to organize itself. One of the greatest habits you can build is learning to pause before you speak. Not because you are afraid, not because you are unsure, because you respect your own thoughts. A short pause is not weakness, it is control. Strong people do not race to fill every second with words. They give their mind one moment to catch up. That single moment often changes the entire conversation. Think about the people you admire. The people whose words stay with you. Most of them are not the fastest talkers. They are the clearest thinkers. Their answers sound simple because their minds are organized before their mouths begin moving. That is a skill. It is not something people are born with. It is something they practice every day. Your brain works best when it is not fighting against pressure. The moment you tell yourself that you must answer immediately, your thinking becomes smaller. Your attention becomes narrow. Your emotions become louder than your reason. But when you remind yourself that one thoughtful second is better than 10 careless words, everything begins to change. You stop reacting. You start choosing. Every conversation gives you a chance to practice this habit. Someone asks for your opinion. Instead of speaking instantly, take one quiet breath. Ask yourself one simple question. What do I really want to say? That small question forces your brain to slow down just enough to find a better answer. It creates space between the question and your response. Inside that space lives wisdom. People often believe confident speakers always know exactly what to say. The truth is different. Confident speakers trust themselves enough to think before they speak. They are not trying to impress everyone. They are trying to communicate clearly. That small difference changes everything. When your goal is clarity, instead of speed, your words become stronger. Another mistake people make is trying to answer while the other person is still talking. Their ears stop listening because their mind is busy preparing a reply. That habit steals understanding. You cannot build a great answer without fully hearing the question. Real listening gives your brain better information. Better information creates better thinking. Better thinking creates better speaking. Notice how your body feels when you rush. Your shoulders become tight. Your breathing becomes shorter. Your heart beats faster. Your mind jumps from one idea to another. Your words begin to chase each other. Now notice what happens when you slow yourself down. Your breathing becomes steady. Your face relaxes. Your thoughts become easier to follow. The words begin to arrive in the right order. People can hear the difference, even if they cannot explain it. Your future is influenced by thousands of conversations. A job interview, a business meeting, a family discussion, a difficult disagreement, a chance to encourage someone, a chance to defend your ideas. These moments rarely give you a second opportunity. That's why learning to think before speaking is one of the greatest investments you can make in yourself. Do not measure yourself by how quickly you answer. Measure yourself by how useful your answer becomes. Fast speaking is not the goal. Smart speaking is the goal. A person who answers in 5 seconds with wisdom will always leave a stronger impression than someone who answers in 1 second with confusion. There will be times when people interrupt you. There will be times when someone expects an immediate response. Do not allow their urgency to become your habit. Stay calm. Stay present. Give your mind permission to work. Most people respect thoughtful answers far more than rushed opinions. Growth happens through small daily decisions. Today, decide that your words will no longer run ahead of your thinking. Decide that every important conversation deserves your full attention. Decide that silence for 1 moment is better than regret for many hours. Those decisions may seem small, but they begin changing the way people experience you. People trust someone whose words make sense. They remember someone whose answers are clear. They respect someone who stays calm when others become rushed. That kind of person is not lucky. That kind of person has trained the mind before training the mouth. Success is built one habit at a time. Begin with this one. Before your next answer, before your next opinion, before your next reaction, allow your brain to arrive first. When your thinking leads your speaking, your confidence grows naturally. Your words carry more value. Your conversations become more meaningful. And little by little people stop hearing only your voice. They begin respecting your mind. Chapter 2. Give your mind 1 second to think. There is something powerful about 1 single second. Most people never notice it because they are always trying to keep up with the speed of the conversation. They believe every answer must come immediately. They think speaking fast makes them look smart. In reality, people rarely remember who answered first. They remember who answered well. Your greatest advantage is not having a quick mouth. It is having a steady mind. A steady mind can take a simple moment, organize a thought, and turn an ordinary answer into something people respect. That habit does not appear overnight. It grows every time you choose to think before you react. Life gives you hundreds of chances to practice this every single day. Someone asks for your opinion. Your child asks you a difficult question. A customer challenges your idea. A friend says something that surprises you. A stranger misunderstands your words. In each situation, your first feeling may push you toward a quick response. But your first feeling is not always your best guide. Give your mind 1 second, and something remarkable begins to happen. Your emotions settle down just enough for your judgment to step forward. Successful people understand that not every thought deserves to become a sentence. They know there is a difference between what enters the mind and what leaves the mouth. That small space between thinking and speaking is where wisdom grows. If you protect that space, you protect your relationships, your reputation, and your future. Think about how many arguments begin because someone answered too quickly. One person says something without thinking. The other person reacts without thinking. Soon nobody is listening anymore. Both people are only trying to prove themselves right. Hours later, they realize the problem was never the conversation. The problem was the lack of patience before the conversation truly began. A calm response often changes the direction of an entire discussion. It helps the other person feel heard. It helps you stay focused on the real issue instead of getting lost in emotion. People naturally trust someone who remains steady when everyone else becomes restless. That kind of trust cannot be bought. It is earned through small decisions made over and over again. Your mind is always collecting information. It notices facial expressions, the tone of a voice, the choice of words, and even the silence between sentences. But if you rush to answer, you never give your brain enough time to connect those pieces together. You hear only part of the message, and your response reflects only part of the truth. There is no prize for speaking before you understand. There is great value in understanding before you speak. Many people spend years trying to become better speakers while ignoring the habit that creates great speaking in the first place. They practice new words. They study communication. They memorize techniques. Those things can help, but none of them replace a clear mind. When your thinking improves, your speaking follows naturally. Do not confuse speed with intelligence. Intelligence often looks quiet before it becomes clear. It takes a brief moment to sort through ideas, remove unnecessary words, and choose what truly matters. That process may last only 1 second, but the quality of your answer can improve completely. There will always be pressure in life. Some people expect immediate decisions. Some conversations move quickly. Some situations feel uncomfortable. Those moments reveal your habits. If your habit is reacting, pressure controls you. If your habit is thinking first, you stay in control regardless of the situation. 1 second may not sound important, but consider what it can save. It can save a friendship from careless words. It can save a business opportunity from a poor explanation. It can save a family discussion from becoming an argument. It can save your confidence because you no longer leave conversations wishing you had answered differently. Every person has experienced the regret of speaking too soon. You cannot take words back after they have been heard. An apology may repair some of the damage, but it cannot erase the memory. That is why prevention is always wiser than correction. A thoughtful pause costs almost nothing, yet it protects so much. Develop the habit of asking yourself a simple question before answering. Is this the best way to say it? Notice that the question is not about sounding impressive. It is about being helpful, honest, and clear. Those qualities leave a much stronger impression than clever words ever could. As you continue building this habit, you will notice another change. Your confidence will no longer depend on having the perfect answer. It will come from knowing you can trust yourself to respond with care. That kind of confidence feels different. It is quieter, it is stronger. It does not need approval from everyone around you. People enjoy conversations with someone who makes them feel understood. That happens because thoughtful people listen with full attention before they speak. They are not busy preparing the next sentence while the other person is still talking. They stay present. Presence is one of the greatest gifts you can offer another human being. Remember that every meaningful conversation shapes the person you are becoming. Your words introduce your thinking before people know your character. If your words are careful, your character appears dependable. If your words are thoughtful, your character appears mature. Every conversation becomes another chance to build that reputation. Personal growth is rarely about making huge changes all at once. It is usually about improving one small habit until it becomes part of who you are. Today, that habit is simple. Give your mind 1 second before your voice begins. That single second will help you notice more, understand more, and express yourself with greater confidence. As the days pass, people may not recognize exactly what has changed about you. They will simply notice that your answers carry more weight. Your conversations become easier. Difficult discussions no longer shake your confidence. Others begin asking for your opinion because they know your words come from careful thought instead of quick reactions. That is how real growth happens. One conversation at a time, one thoughtful decision at a time, 1 second at a time, and those small moments repeated every day quietly shape a person whose words are trusted because the mind always arrives before the voice. Chapter 3. Find the right answer before anyone expects it. I'd like you to notice something that changes the way people see you. It is not your education. It is not your job title. It is not how loud your voice is. It is your ability to give the right answer when the moment arrives. Anyone can talk after everyone else has already explained the situation. The person who earns respect is the one who understands what matters before the room starts searching for answers. This ability is not magic. It is not luck. It is the result of training your mind to look beyond the obvious. Most people hear words. Very few people understand what those words actually mean. That difference separates ordinary conversations from meaningful ones. Many people spend their lives waiting for someone else to explain the problem first. They feel safer following another person's opinion. They watch the reactions around them before deciding what they think. That habit may protect them from making mistakes, but it also keeps them from becoming trusted. People remember those who bring clarity, not those who simply repeat what everyone else has already said. The first step is learning to stay curious. Curiosity is stronger than quick opinions. When something happens, do not rush toward the first explanation that comes into your mind. Ask yourself what could be missing. Ask yourself what nobody has noticed yet. A curious mind always discovers more than a hurried mind. Think about your daily conversations. Someone complains about work. Another person immediately agrees and adds more complaints. The discussion grows more negative with every sentence, but one thoughtful person asks a different question. What is really causing this problem? That single question changes the direction of the conversation. Instead of feeding frustration, it begins searching for understanding. That is what intelligent speaking looks like. It is not about having more words. It is about finding better questions before offering better answers. People often admire those who seem quick on their feet. What they do not see is the habit behind that ability. Strong thinkers pay attention long before anyone asks for their opinion. They observe people's expressions. They notice changes in energy. They listen carefully to the details others ignore. By the time someone turns toward them for an answer, their mind has already been quietly putting the pieces together. This is why listening is never passive. Your brain should always be working while your mouth remains still. Every sentence you hear gives you another clue. Every reaction gives you another piece of information. When you collect enough pieces, your answer becomes natural instead of forced. Do not become someone who speaks simply because there is silence. Silence is often giving your mind valuable information. While others are uncomfortable with quiet moments, use them to organize your thinking. There is no pressure to fill every pause. A useful answer is always more valuable than unnecessary noise. One habit that changes everything is learning to separate facts from feelings. People often mix the two together. Someone feels disappointed, so they believe everything is going wrong. Someone feels excited, so they believe every decision is perfect. Feelings matter, but they do not always tell the complete story. Before you answer, ask yourself what you actually know instead of what you simply feel. That question protects your judgment. Your mind also becomes stronger when you stop assuming. Assumptions are responsible for countless misunderstandings. You think you know what another person meant. You believe you understand their intention. Then you answer based on your guess instead of their reality. Great communicators remove confusion by seeking understanding first. They are not afraid to ask for clarification because they know a clear question often prevents a poor answer. Remember that people are usually not looking for someone who knows everything. They are looking for someone who thinks carefully. There is a huge difference. Nobody expects perfection. They appreciate honesty, balance, and thoughtful judgment. Those qualities build trust over time. You will also discover that the right answer is not always the longest answer. Sometimes one simple sentence solves what 10 complicated sentences cannot. Simplicity is not a sign of limited thinking. It is often proof that your thinking has become organized. When your ideas are clear in your own mind, they become easier for others to understand. Life will place you in unexpected situations. Someone may ask for advice when you least expect it. A meeting may suddenly focus on you. A family member may come to you with a difficult decision. Those moments are not the time to panic. They are the time to rely on the habits you have built every day. Train yourself to think one step ahead. While others focus only on the immediate question, consider what happens after the answer. Will your words solve the problem? Will they create another problem? Will they encourage someone? Will they confuse them? Thinking beyond the moment gives your words lasting value. Never forget that every answer carries responsibility. Once words leave your mouth, they begin influencing other people. They can increase hope or create doubt. They can calm fear or spread worry. They can strengthen trust or weaken it. That is why choosing your response carefully is an act of leadership, even in ordinary conversations. Another important lesson is to become comfortable saying, "I need a moment to think." Those words do not reduce your credibility. In many situations, they increase it. They show maturity. They show self-control. They show that accuracy matters more to you than appearing fast. People respect someone who values getting it right. As you continue growing, you will notice something encouraging. Situations that once made you nervous will begin to feel familiar. Questions that once surprised you will no longer catch you unprepared. Not because you memorized answers, but because you trained your mind to think with purpose. That kind of preparation does not happen only during important events. It is built during ordinary days. It happens when you read something useful instead of wasting another hour. It happens when you reflect on conversations instead of forgetting them. It happens when you learn from mistakes instead of making excuses. Every small improvement strengthens the quality of your future responses. Success in speaking is not about trying to sound like the smartest person in the room. It is about becoming the person whose words make the most sense when people need direction. That kind of influence grows quietly through discipline, awareness, and daily practice. Your future conversations will shape opportunities, relationships, and decisions that matter. Prepare your mind before those moments arrive. Build the habit of observing carefully, thinking deeply, and responding with purpose. When you do that consistently, you will no longer search for the right answer after everyone else has spoken. You will already have it because your mind learned to prepare before anyone expected it. Chapter 4. Think clearly. When the pressure feels real, pressure has a way of changing people. You can know exactly what you want to say, yet the moment every eye turns toward you, your thoughts suddenly feel scattered. Your heart beats a little faster. Your mind starts searching in every direction at once. Words that seemed simple a moment ago become difficult to find. This happens to people every day, and it has very little to do with intelligence. It has everything to do with how well you manage your mind when the situation becomes uncomfortable. The person who speaks well under pressure is not always the smartest person in the room. More often, it is the person who has learned not to let pressure make decisions on their behalf. That is an important difference. Difficult moments do not create your habits. They reveal them. If your daily habit is staying calm, you will carry that calm into challenging conversations. If your daily habit is panic, pressure simply makes that habit stronger. Many people believe they need more confidence before speaking. In reality, they need more control over their attention. The moment you stop focusing on what everyone might think about you, your mind becomes available for something much more useful. It begins paying attention to the conversation instead of your fear. Think about the times you struggled to answer a question. Perhaps it happened during a meeting, a job interview, or a family discussion. You probably walked away feeling disappointed, wondering why your mind seemed so slow. Yet later that same day, the perfect answer appeared. That should teach you something valuable. Your ability never disappeared. It was hidden behind unnecessary pressure. One lesson can change the way you approach every conversation. Stop treating every question as a test of your worth. It is simply a chance to communicate. When you believe every answer must prove your intelligence, you place a heavy weight on yourself. That weight makes clear thinking much harder. But when your purpose becomes helping others understand your thoughts, your mind begins working with greater freedom. Notice what happens to people who remain steady during difficult situations. They do not rush. They do not become louder. They do not compete to control the room. They focus on understanding what is happening before deciding how to respond. Their strength comes from discipline rather than emotion. You must also learn to separate urgency from importance. Some situations feel urgent because people are speaking quickly or reacting emotionally. That does not always mean you must do the same. There are moments when the greatest contribution you can make is bringing stability into an unstable conversation. Your thinking becomes stronger when you reduce unnecessary noise inside your mind. Worry is noise. Imagining failure is noise. Trying to impress everyone is noise. Comparing yourself with other people is noise. These thoughts consume energy that should be used for understanding the conversation itself. Remove that noise, and your judgment becomes much clearer. There is another habit worth building. Before speaking, identify the real purpose of your answer. Ask yourself what outcome you want to create. Do you want to solve a problem? Do you want to explain an idea? Do you want to encourage someone? When your purpose becomes clear, your words naturally begin moving in the right direction. Without purpose, even many sentences can leave people confused. Pressure often creates another problem. People start speaking faster than they normally would. They believe speed will hide their nervousness. Usually, it does the opposite. Fast speaking often creates more mistakes because the mind cannot organize ideas at the same pace. Slow enough to think, clear enough to be understood. Those two habits are far more valuable than trying to sound impressive. Remember that the people listening to you are human too. They have experienced nervous moments. They have searched for words. They have made mistakes. Most people are not waiting for you to fail. They simply want to understand what you are trying to say. That realization removes unnecessary fear and helps your thoughts become more natural. Every difficult conversation teaches something if you are willing to learn from it. Instead of criticizing yourself after a challenging moment, become a student of your own experience. Ask what worked well. Ask where your thinking became unclear. Ask what you will do differently next time. Growth begins when reflection replaces self-judgment. Strong thinkers do not avoid pressure. They prepare for it through ordinary daily habits. They read regularly because knowledge gives the mind more material to work with. They listen carefully because understanding grows through attention. They think deeply about everyday situations because practice should never begin, only when life becomes difficult. Your character also becomes visible when pressure arrives. Anyone can appear calm when everything is easy. Real maturity shows itself during disagreement, uncertainty, and unexpected questions. Those moments reveal whether your values guide your words or whether your emotions control them. Another mistake many people make is believing they must answer every question perfectly. There is no such requirement. Sometimes, the strongest response is admitting that you need more information. Sometimes wisdom appears through honesty rather than certainty. People trust those who value truth more than appearance. Never underestimate the power of preparation. Every book you read, every meaningful conversation you have, every lesson you choose to remember is quietly strengthening your ability to think clearly in future situations. Preparation creates confidence because your mind has learned to connect ideas more quickly over time. Your future will contain many moments that ask something of you. Someone will need guidance. Someone will ask for your opinion. Someone will look toward you when the room becomes uncertain. Those moments should not frighten you. They should remind you that every day has been preparing you for greater responsibility. The goal is not becoming someone who never feels pressure. The goal is becoming someone whose thinking remains dependable even when pressure appears. There is a difference. Feelings may come and go, but disciplined thinking can remain steady. Success is built through choices that seem small at first. Choose patience over panic. Choose understanding over assumptions. Choose clarity over confusion. Choose thoughtful judgment over quick reactions. These choices shape not only the quality of your conversations, but also the quality of your life. As you continue this journey, people will begin noticing something different about you. They may not describe it perfectly, but they will sense it. Your presence will feel calmer. Your answers will feel more balanced. Your words will carry quiet confidence because they come from a mind that refuses to surrender when situations become difficult. That is how genuine growth happens. It is not measured by how loudly you speak or how quickly you respond. It is measured by your ability to remain clear when others become distracted, steady when others become anxious, and thoughtful when the pressure feels real. That habit will serve you in every conversation, every opportunity, and every season of your life. Chapter 5. Train your brain to respond without panic. One of the greatest victories you will ever achieve has nothing to do with money, status, or recognition. It is the ability to stay in control of your own mind when something unexpected happens. Life rarely gives you notice before testing you. A difficult question may come without warning. Someone may challenge your opinion in front of others. A conversation may suddenly become uncomfortable. At that moment, many people do not lose because they lack knowledge. They lose because panic reaches them before clear thinking does. Panic is a fast reaction, but it is not a wise one. It convinces you that every second is an emergency. It pushes your attention toward fear instead of understanding. It makes simple situations feel much bigger than they really are. Once panic takes control, your mind begins jumping from one thought to another. You stop paying attention to what is actually happening because you become trapped inside your own worries. Your brain can be trained to respond differently. Just as your body becomes stronger through repeated exercise, your mind becomes steadier through repeated practice. Every conversation is another chance to build that strength. You do not wait for an important day to develop this habit. You build it during ordinary moments so it is ready when life asks more from you. One mistake people often make is believing they must always have an immediate solution. That belief creates unnecessary pressure. There is nothing wrong with taking a moment to understand the situation before deciding what to say. A thoughtful response is never a sign of weakness. It shows respect for both the conversation and the people involved. Think about someone who always remains calm during difficult moments. Notice how they carry themselves. Their face does not reveal panic. Their voice stays steady. They do not become defensive every time someone disagrees with them. They focus on understanding first, because they know that reacting emotionally rarely improves the outcome. This kind of self-control is available to anyone willing to practice it. The first step is recognizing your own patterns. Pay attention to the situations that make you uneasy. Perhaps you become nervous when speaking with strangers. Maybe you feel pressure when someone asks an unexpected question. You might become uncomfortable when people interrupt you. Awareness is powerful because you cannot improve a habit you refuse to notice. After you identify those moments, begin changing the way you experience them. Instead of seeing them as threats, start seeing them as opportunities to strengthen your thinking. Every challenge becomes another lesson. Every difficult conversation becomes another practice session. Little by little, your brain learns that these situations are not as dangerous as they once seemed. There is another habit that deserves your attention. Stop assuming the worst before anything has happened. Many people create fear long before reality gives them a reason. They imagine embarrassing themselves. They expect rejection before speaking. They convince themselves that others are waiting for them to fail. These stories exist only inside their minds, yet they shape their behavior as if they were facts. Your mind deserves better information than unnecessary fear. Replace those imagined failures with useful questions. Ask yourself what you can learn from this conversation. Ask yourself how you can help the other person understand your point. Those questions move your attention toward progress instead of anxiety. Strong communicators also understand the value of emotional balance. Every feeling deserves to be noticed, but not every feeling deserves to become your leader. Anger may tell you to interrupt. Fear may tell you to stay silent. Frustration may tell you to argue. Wisdom quietly asks you to slow down and choose the response that serves your future instead of your emotions. Your words should come from your values, not from your temporary feelings. Feelings change throughout the day. Your values should remain steady. If honesty matters to you, speak honestly. If kindness matters to you, answer with kindness even when someone else chooses a different attitude. If respect matters to you, carry that respect into every conversation, regardless of how the other person behaves. Another powerful habit is learning to separate the person from the problem. Too many conversations become personal when they never needed to. Someone disagrees with an idea, and people feel as though they themselves have been attacked. Those are two different things. Mature thinking understands that ideas can be questioned without questioning someone's worth. This simple understanding protects your peace of mind. You stop treating every disagreement as a battle. Instead, you begin looking for understanding. That shift changes the quality of your conversations because your goal is no longer winning every discussion. Your goal becomes discovering the best answer together. Remember that people are always watching more than your words. They notice your attitude. They notice your patience. They notice whether you remain respectful when situations become difficult. Character is revealed most clearly during uncomfortable moments. Anyone can appear pleasant when everything goes their way. Real strength appears when life becomes uncertain. There will be days when you do not respond as well as you hoped. Perhaps you speak too quickly. Perhaps you allow frustration to take over. Do not allow one mistake to become your identity. Learn from it. Every successful person has conversations they wish they could repeat. Growth belongs to those who study those moments instead of hiding from them. Build a daily habit of reflecting on your conversations. At the end of the day, think about one discussion that challenged you. Ask yourself what you handled well. Ask yourself what you could improve. This simple exercise trains your brain to become more prepared for situations in the future. Improvement is rarely dramatic. It happens through steady attention to small details. As your thinking becomes more disciplined, another change begins to appear. You stop fearing difficult conversations because you trust your ability to handle them. Confidence no longer comes from believing that everything will go perfectly. It comes from knowing you can remain steady even when life becomes unpredictable. People naturally feel safe around someone who stays calm during tense moments. They know they can speak honestly without creating unnecessary conflict. They know they will be heard instead of judged. That kind of trust is one of the greatest gifts you can earn because it opens doors in friendships, families, business, and leadership. Success is not determined by how many easy conversations you have. It is shaped by how you respond when the conversation becomes difficult. Train your brain every day to choose understanding instead of panic, patience instead of impulse, and wisdom instead of fear. Those choices may seem small in the moment, but over time they transform the way you think, the way you speak, and the way people remember you. Eventually, you become someone whose calm presence brings confidence to others, because your mind has learned that no situation deserves panic when disciplined thinking is always available. Chapter 6. Turn confused thoughts into clear, simple words. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that sounding complicated makes them sound intelligent. It does not. People are not impressed when they leave a conversation confused. They are impressed when they leave understanding something better than they did before. That is the true mark of a strong communicator. The ability to take a busy mind and turn it into simple words that anyone can follow. Many people know more than they can explain. Their minds are full of ideas, experiences, opinions, and knowledge. But when the moment comes to speak, everything arrives at once. Every thought tries to leave at the same time. Their sentences become long. Their message becomes unclear. They finish speaking, yet they can see from people's faces that the meaning never arrived. That experience should never discourage you. It should teach you something important. The problem is not that you have nothing valuable to say. The problem is that your thoughts need better organization before they become words. Your mind is always working faster than your voice. That is perfectly normal. The challenge is learning how to slow your thinking just enough to arrange your ideas in the right order. A clear mind creates clear speech. A crowded mind creates crowded conversations. Before speaking, ask yourself one simple question. What is the one thing I want this person to understand? Not 5 things, not 10 things, just one. When you know the main point, every sentence begins moving in the same direction. Your words stop wandering. Your message becomes easier to remember. Too many people try to explain everything they know. Wise people explain what is necessary. There is a difference. More information does not always create more understanding. Sometimes it creates confusion because people no longer know which idea matters most. Think about the best teachers you have ever met. They did not make learning difficult. They made difficult ideas easier to understand. They chose simple words because their goal was helping people grow, not proving how much they knew. That lesson belongs in every conversation you have. There is another habit that quietly weakens communication. It is the habit of speaking while your thoughts are still changing. Your first sentence goes in one direction. Your second sentence changes it. Your third sentence introduces another idea. Soon the listener is trying to connect pieces that were never connected in your own mind. If your thinking keeps changing while you speak, your listener has no stable path to follow. Instead, allow your thoughts to settle before you begin explaining them. Imagine building a house. You would never invite people inside before the walls were standing. Your ideas deserve the same care. Build them first. Then invite others into your thinking. You should also remember that people cannot hear your thoughts. They hear only your words. What seems obvious inside your own mind may be completely new to someone else. That is why patience matters. Explain your ideas in a way that respects the other person's perspective. Do not assume they already know what you know. Many conversations become frustrating because people try to sound impressive instead of trying to be understood. They use difficult words when simple ones would work better. They speak in long explanations when a short answer would carry greater value. They forget that communication is measured by what the other person understands, not by how much they themselves can say. Your responsibility is not to fill the air with words. Your responsibility is to leave people with clarity. There is a useful habit that can improve every conversation. Finish one idea before beginning another. Many people jump from subject to subject without realizing it. They mention one point, remember something else, and suddenly move in a different direction. Their listener struggles to keep up because the conversation never stays in one place. long enough to become meaningful. Discipline your thoughts the same way you would organize an important task. One step, then the next, then the next. Order creates confidence because both you and the listener know exactly where the conversation is going. Another lesson worth remembering is that silence can improve your explanation. You do not need to connect every sentence without stopping. A brief pause gives the listener time to understand what you have already said. It also gives your own mind a chance to prepare the next idea with greater care. Conversations become stronger when people have room to think. You will also notice that people ask fewer questions when your explanations are clear. They no longer need to guess what you meant. They no longer feel lost halfway through your answer. Clarity saves time because understanding arrives earlier. As your speaking improves, resist the temptation to interrupt yourself. Many people apologize before finishing a sentence. They say they are probably not explaining it well. They doubt themselves before anyone else has the chance. Those habits weaken confidence. Trust your ability to communicate. Speak with calmness instead of constantly correcting yourself. Every meaningful conversation begins inside your own thinking. If your mind is full of distractions, unfinished worries, and scattered attention, your words will carry the same confusion. Protect your thinking every day. Spend time reading ideas that strengthen your judgment. Reflect on experiences instead of rushing through them. Give yourself quiet moments where your mind can sort through what you have learned. A well-trained mind produces well-chosen words. Do not compare yourself with people who seem naturally gifted at speaking. You are seeing the result of habits, not luck. Every clear speaker became clear by learning what to remove as much as what to include. Simplicity is a skill developed through practice, patience, and honest reflection. Remember that your purpose is not to sound like the smartest person in every room. Your purpose is to help people understand your message without unnecessary effort. That ability creates influence because people remember those who make life easier to understand. As you continue developing this habit, you will notice a quiet transformation. Conversations that once felt difficult become more comfortable. Your ideas begin flowing in a natural order. People listen longer because they no longer struggle to follow your thinking. They respond with interest because your words respect both their time and their attention. This change does not happen in one day. It happens every time you choose clarity over complexity. Every time you remove words that add no value. Every time you organize your thoughts before sharing them. Every time you speak with the intention of helping rather than impressing. Success in communication is not measured by how much you say, it is measured by how much people truly understand. When you learn to turn confused thoughts into clear, simple words, you give others something valuable. You give them confidence in your message, trust in your judgment, and a reason to keep listening whenever you begin to speak. Chapter 7. Know exactly what to say every time. Many people wish they always knew the perfect thing to say. They admire someone who answers naturally in every conversation and assume that person was simply born with a special gift. The truth is much more encouraging. The people who seem to know exactly what to say have trained themselves to think with purpose long before they ever begin speaking. They have built habits that help them find the right words without feeling lost. The first lesson is simple. Stop searching for perfect words and start searching for the right intention. Before any sentence leaves your mouth, know why you are saying it. Are you trying to solve a problem? Are you trying to encourage someone? Are you trying to explain an idea? Are you trying to correct a misunderstanding? When your purpose is clear, your words become much easier to choose. Many conversations become difficult because people begin talking without deciding where they want the conversation to go. They speak whatever comes into their minds and hope something useful appears along the way. That habit creates confusion for both the speaker and the listener. A clear destination always makes the path easier to follow. Think about someone asking for your advice. The first temptation is often to start giving answers immediately. Resist that habit. Spend a few moments understanding what they truly need. Sometimes people ask one question while worrying about something completely different. If you answer only the words they spoke, you may completely miss the real problem they are trying to solve. This is why paying attention matters more than speaking quickly. Every conversation contains information that people never say directly. Their tone changes, their energy changes, their confidence rises and falls. Sometimes they hesitate before choosing certain words. Those small details help you understand what kind of answer will actually help them. People appreciate being understood before they are advised. When someone feels understood, they become more open to your words. If they feel ignored, even your best advice may never reach them. Learning to recognize this difference will improve every relationship in your life. Another habit that strengthens your speaking is choosing honesty over appearance. Many people try to sound impressive because they fear looking ordinary. They use words they rarely use in daily life. They force complicated explanations that even they do not fully believe. Eventually, they lose the natural rhythm of the conversation because they are trying to perform instead of communicate. Never forget that people connect with sincerity. They may admire intelligence, but they trust authenticity. Speak in a way that sounds like you. Your goal is not to copy another person's style. Your goal is to become the clearest version of yourself. There will also be moments when the right answer is a question. Asking a thoughtful question often creates more progress than offering a quick opinion. Questions invite people to think for themselves. They encourage understanding instead of argument. They also give you valuable information before you decide what to say next. One question can completely change a conversation. Instead of asking why something failed, ask what can be improved. Instead of asking who caused the problem, ask what should happen now. Instead of asking why life is unfair, ask what choice creates a better future. Better questions guide people toward better thinking, and better thinking always produces better conversations. You must also become comfortable leaving unnecessary words behind. Every sentence should have a reason for existing. If a sentence does not move the conversation forward, it probably does not need to be spoken. People remember conversations that respect their attention. They become tired of conversations that wander without direction. Notice how experienced leaders speak. They rarely use 20 sentences when 5 are enough. They understand that clarity creates influence. Their confidence does not come from saying more. It comes from knowing what deserves to be said and what should remain unspoken. There is another important habit that many people overlook. Learn to adjust your words according to the person in front of you. Not everyone learns in the same way. Not everyone thinks in the same way. Some people need a simple explanation. Others need more detail. Speaking well is not only about expressing yourself. It is about making your message useful to the other person. That requires empathy. Put yourself in their position. Ask yourself what would help them understand this idea more easily. When you begin thinking from their perspective instead of only your own, your communication becomes far more effective. You should also remember that timing changes the value of your words. A helpful idea delivered at the wrong moment may not be received well. There are times when people first need encouragement before they are ready for advice. There are times when they need understanding before correction. Wisdom is not only knowing what to say. Wisdom is recognizing when another person is ready to hear it. Every conversation gives you an opportunity to practice emotional discipline. Someone may disagree with you. Someone may misunderstand your intentions. Someone may criticize your opinion. In those moments, do not allow your emotions to choose your next sentence. Stay connected to your values. Speak in a way that reflects the person you are becoming, not the feeling you are experiencing for a few seconds. Another powerful habit is reviewing important conversations after they happen. Do not replay them to criticize yourself. Study them with curiosity. Which answers helped people? Which explanations created confusion? Which moments could have been handled better? This habit quietly strengthens your judgment because every conversation becomes another lesson instead of another memory. As the years pass, your greatest improvement will not come from memorizing clever responses. It will come from building a dependable way of thinking. When your thinking becomes organized, your words naturally become organized. When your priorities become clear, your communication becomes clear. When your character becomes stronger, your voice carries greater weight. People are not searching for someone who always has a perfect answer. They are searching for someone whose words can be trusted. Trust grows when your answers are thoughtful, honest, respectful, and consistent. That kind of influence cannot be created through tricks or shortcuts. It is earned one conversation at a time. Remember that every day gives you new opportunities to strengthen this skill. Speak with intention instead of impulse. Listen with full attention instead of preparing your next reply. Choose words that build understanding instead of confusion. Help people feel respected instead of judged. When you live this way, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop worrying about finding the perfect sentence because your mind has learned a better habit. You begin each conversation with a clear purpose. You stay present while others speak, and you answer with wisdom instead of urgency. That is how you come to know exactly what to say. Not because you memorized every response, but because you trained your mind to serve others with clarity, honesty, and thoughtful judgment every single time. Chapter 8. Make smart answers become your first habit. Success in conversation is not built on one brilliant answer. It is built on the answers you give every single day. Anyone can have one impressive moment. The real challenge is becoming the kind of person whose first response is almost always thoughtful, useful, and dependable. That does not happen by accident. It becomes a habit, and every habit begins with repeated choices. Many people believe smart answers appear only when someone is naturally gifted. That belief keeps them from improving because they assume there is nothing they can do. The truth is much more encouraging. Your brain learns from repetition. If you continue reacting without thinking, your mind becomes skilled at reacting. If you consistently stop, think, and answer with purpose, your mind slowly accepts that as the new normal. This is how personal growth works. You become what you practice. If careless words become your daily routine, they will appear when important moments arrive. If careful thinking becomes your daily routine, it will stay with you even when life becomes difficult. Think about the small conversations you have every day. Speaking with a family member before breakfast, answering a message from a friend, talking with a coworker. asking for help at a store. These moments may seem ordinary, but they are quietly shaping the habits that will appear during extraordinary moments. Never underestimate simple conversations, because they are your daily training ground. One powerful decision can change everything. Refuse to answer on autopilot. Too many people live this way. They repeat the same phrases. They give the same predictable reactions. They rarely stop to consider whether their words are actually helping the conversation. Their mouth follows routine instead of intention. Break that pattern. Become fully present each time someone speaks to you. Listen as though the conversation matters, because it does. Every interaction teaches your mind how to respond in the future. The quality of your attention today becomes the quality of your answers tomorrow. Another lesson worth remembering is that a smart answer is not always the answer people expect. Sometimes people expect agreement when honesty would serve them better. Sometimes they expect criticism when encouragement would help them grow. Sometimes they expect you to become defensive, but calmness changes the entire direction of the discussion. Do not allow other people's expectations to decide your character. Let your values guide your words. A person who speaks from principle earns respect that lasts much longer than someone who simply follows the crowd. You should also learn to recognize the difference between reacting and responding. A reaction is usually driven by the moment. A response is guided by judgment. Reactions often disappear as quickly as they arrive. Thoughtful responses continue creating positive results long after the conversation ends. There is great value in becoming predictable in the best possible way. Imagine people knowing that whenever they ask for your opinion, they will receive honesty without harshness. They will receive encouragement without false promises. They will receive practical ideas instead of unnecessary drama. That reputation becomes one of your greatest strengths because trust grows through consistency. Consistency is often more impressive than brilliance. A single great answer may surprise people. Years of dependable answers earn their confidence. Confidence from others opens opportunities that talent alone cannot create. Your environment also shapes your habits more than you realize. If you spend your time around people who constantly interrupt, complain, or speak without thinking, those habits slowly become familiar. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with people who communicate with respect, patience, and wisdom, your own standards begin to rise. Choose carefully whose conversations you allow to influence your thinking. Every voice you listen to is teaching your brain something. Make sure those lessons move you toward the person you want to become. There is another practice that strengthens intelligent speaking. Read something valuable every day. A growing mind produces growing conversations. Every useful idea you learn gives your brain another tool for future discussions. You are preparing answers long before anyone asks the questions. Do not read only to collect information. Read to improve your judgment. Knowledge without reflection often stays trapped inside the mind. Reflection turns knowledge into wisdom. Spend a few quiet minutes thinking about what you have learned and how it applies to your own life. That habit deepens your understanding and makes your future conversations more meaningful. Another mistake many people make is trying to win every discussion. Winning an argument does not always strengthen a relationship. Sometimes the smartest answer is the one that protects mutual respect. Learn to ask yourself whether proving your point is more important than preserving trust. In many situations, kindness accomplishes far more than pride ever will. You will also become a stronger communicator when you stop fearing mistakes. Every person has spoken carelessly at some point. Every person has misunderstood someone. Every person has wished they could repeat a conversation. Those experiences are not signs that you should give up. They are invitations to improve. Instead of carrying regret, carry lessons. Each conversation leaves behind valuable information. Notice which answers created understanding. Notice which words made people feel respected. Notice how calm thinking changed the quality of your communication. These observations slowly become part of your character. As your habits improve, you will notice something interesting. You will no longer spend hours replaying conversations in your mind. The reason is simple. You begin leaving discussions with peace instead of regret, because you know you answered according to your values, not according to pressure. That kind of confidence cannot be borrowed from another person. It grows through daily discipline. It grows every time you replace impulse with intention. It grows every time you choose understanding before speaking. It grows every time you refuse to allow temporary emotions to control permanent relationships. Remember that your future is influenced by thousands of ordinary conversations. Every answer becomes part of the reputation you are building. People begin expecting honesty from you. They begin expecting balance from you. They begin expecting wisdom from you, because that is what you repeatedly provide. The goal is not becoming someone who occasionally gives a smart answer. The goal is becoming someone for whom smart answers feel natural, because disciplined thinking has become a way of life. That transformation happens quietly. One conversation shapes the next. One thoughtful decision strengthens another. One good habit replaces an old one. As the months and years pass, people may not know exactly why they trust your words more than before. They will simply notice that your advice carries weight, your conversations create clarity, and your presence brings stability instead of confusion. That is the reward of training your mind every day. Smart answers stop being something you search for. They become part of who you are, and that habit will continue serving you in every relationship, every opportunity, and every stage of your life. Chapter 9. Think like the person everyone respects listening to. Respect is never demanded. It is earned through the way you think long before people notice the way you speak. Many people spend years trying to sound impressive, yet they overlook the one thing that truly gives words their value. Every sentence carries the quality of the mind that created it. If your thinking is careless, your speaking will eventually reveal it. If your thinking is disciplined, your words will naturally carry more weight. Think about the people you enjoy listening to. They are not always the loudest voices in the room. They are not constantly trying to prove themselves. They speak with purpose because they have already spent time shaping their thoughts. They understand that respect begins with the quality of their judgment, not the number of words they can produce. One of the greatest changes you can make is deciding to become a student of life every single day. A respected thinker never believes learning is finished. Every experience becomes a lesson. Every conversation becomes another chance to understand people more deeply. Every mistake becomes an opportunity to improve instead of an excuse to quit growing. When your mind stays open, your words continue becoming wiser. Many people lose respect without realizing why. They speak confidently about subjects they barely understand. They refuse to admit when they are wrong. They argue only to protect their pride. Those habits may satisfy the ego for a few moments, but they slowly weaken trust. Real strength is shown by someone who values truth more than looking important. Never be afraid to say you need more information before making a conclusion. That kind of honesty does not reduce your influence, it increases it. People trust those who care about accuracy more than appearance. They know they are listening to someone who thinks carefully instead of reacting carelessly. There is another habit that deserves your attention. Stop trying to win every conversation. Life is not a competition to see who speaks the most or who has the final word. The purpose of communication is understanding. Sometimes the greatest success is helping another person feel heard. Sometimes the greatest contribution is creating peace instead of proving yourself right. When people feel respected, they become willing to listen. Respect opens doors that arguments never can. You should also learn to recognize the difference between confidence and certainty. Confidence allows you to express your ideas with calmness. Certainty often refuses to consider another viewpoint. Wise people remain confident while staying willing to learn. They understand that another person may have information they have not yet discovered. That attitude creates growth because curiosity remains alive. The moment you believe there is nothing left to learn, your progress begins slowing down. Your daily thinking also shapes the tone of your conversations. If your mind is filled with constant complaints, your words will carry that same attitude. If your attention is always focused on blame, your conversations will often create distance instead of connection. But when your thinking is built around responsibility, gratitude, and improvement, those qualities quietly appear in everything you say. People may not always remember your exact sentences, but they will remember how they felt after speaking with you. Did your words leave them encouraged? Did they leave with more clarity than before? Did they feel respected even when you disagreed? Those experiences shape your reputation far more than clever phrases ever will. Another important lesson is learning to separate your identity from your opinions. Your ideas can change as you grow. Your understanding can improve through experience. There is no shame in adjusting your thinking after discovering something better. Growth requires humility. Stubbornness often protects old beliefs that no longer serve your future. The strongest minds remain flexible without becoming weak. They stand by their values while continuing to improve their understanding. There will always be people who speak loudly without thinking deeply. Do not allow their example to influence your own behavior. Noise often attracts attention for a short time, but thoughtful communication earns lasting respect. Focus on becoming dependable rather than dramatic. Dependability creates influence that lasts much longer. It is also important to become careful about the information you accept. Every day your mind receives ideas from conversations, books, videos, and social media. Not every idea deserves a permanent place in your thinking. Learn to examine what you hear before believing it. Ask whether it is helpful. Ask whether it is true. Ask whether it encourages better decisions. A healthy mind protects itself from careless thinking. Remember that speaking well begins long before the conversation starts. It begins with how you spend your mornings, what you choose to learn, the people you spend time with, and the questions you ask yourself. Your private habits quietly prepare your public moments. When your daily thinking becomes stronger, your speaking naturally follows. Another quality people respect is emotional stability. Life will present criticism, disagreement, disappointment, and misunderstanding. If every difficult moment changes your attitude, your words will become unpredictable. But when your emotions are guided by strong values instead of temporary feelings, people begin seeing you as someone they can rely on. Reliability is one of the greatest forms of influence. People return to those whose judgment remains steady, even when circumstances become difficult. You should also practice seeing situations from more than one perspective. Before reaching a conclusion, consider what the other person might be experiencing. Ask yourself what pressure they may be carrying. Ask yourself what information you may not yet have. This habit creates compassion, and compassion makes your communication more thoughtful. The purpose is never to become someone who always has an answer. The purpose is becoming someone whose thinking consistently moves toward wisdom. Wisdom grows through patience, honest reflection, careful observation, and a willingness to improve every day. As you continue developing these habits, you will notice an important change. People will begin asking for your opinion more often, not because you speak more than everyone else, but because your words become dependable. They know you will not answer carelessly. They know you will consider the situation before offering your thoughts. They know your advice comes from genuine concern instead of personal pride. That kind of respect cannot be created overnight. It grows one decision at a time. Every choice to stay curious, every choice to remain humble, every choice to think carefully, and every choice to treat people with dignity strengthens your character. The world has enough people who simply react. It needs more people who think with honesty, speak with purpose, and lead with wisdom. Become one of those people. Build a mind that values understanding more than attention. Build a character that values truth more than applause. Build a reputation that rests on consistency instead of performance. When you think like the person everyone respects listening to, your words stop being ordinary sounds. They become a reflection of a disciplined mind, a trustworthy character, and a life that continues growing every single day. That is the kind of influence that remains long after the conversation has ended. Chapter 10. Master the skill of thinking before speaking. Every meaningful change in your life begins with a decision. Long before people notice new results, they notice new habits. Long before success becomes visible, your daily choices quietly begin shaping it. The same is true for the way you speak. The goal has never been to become someone who simply talks better. The goal has always been to become someone who thinks better first. When your thinking improves, your words naturally begin carrying more confidence, more purpose, and more value. This journey has never been about learning clever responses or memorizing impressive phrases. It has been about building a mind that stays steady in every conversation. A mind that does not become confused when questions appear without warning. A mind that refuses to let fear make decisions. A mind that understands that every word represents the person behind it. Many people spend years trying to change what comes out of their mouth while ignoring what is happening inside their mind. That approach rarely lasts. Lasting improvement always begins deeper than behavior. It begins with the way you observe, the way you understand, and the way you decide. Speaking is only the final step. Thinking is where everything truly begins. Imagine how different your life becomes when every important conversation starts with confidence instead of uncertainty. Someone asks for your opinion, and instead of feeling pressure, you feel prepared. A disagreement appears, and instead of becoming defensive, you stay balanced. An unexpected opportunity arrives, and instead of searching for words, your thoughts come together naturally. These moments are not created by luck. They are created by daily discipline. One truth deserves to stay with you long after this book is finished. Every conversation is shaping your future. One discussion may lead to a new friendship. Another may open a career opportunity. One honest answer may strengthen your family. One thoughtful conversation may encourage someone who was ready to give up. Never underestimate the influence of words that come from a clear and disciplined mind. You do not need to become another person. You simply need to become a more thoughtful version of yourself. Your personality does not need to disappear. Your natural way of speaking does not need to change. What changes is the quality of your thinking before your voice enters the conversation. That small improvement creates a powerful difference over time. There will still be moments when you make mistakes. You will occasionally choose the wrong words. You will sometimes realize later that another answer would have been better. Do not allow those moments to discourage you. Progress has never required perfection. It requires awareness. Every conversation teaches something if you are willing to learn instead of complain. One of the greatest habits you can carry into the future is quiet reflection. At the end of each day, think about one conversation that mattered. Ask yourself whether your words helped or distracted. Ask whether you listened with full attention. Ask whether your response reflected the kind of person you want to become. Those simple questions will continue improving your communication long after this chapter ends. Remember that your mind is always growing. Every good book you read, every meaningful discussion you have, every thoughtful question you ask, and every lesson you choose to remember adds another piece to the way you think. Your future answers are being prepared by what you are learning today. Never stop feeding your mind with ideas that strengthen your judgment. Protect yourself from habits that weaken clear thinking. Do not become addicted to reacting before understanding. Do not allow constant distractions to steal your attention. Do not let pride prevent you from learning something new. These habits slowly reduce the quality of your thinking, without you even noticing. Guard your mind carefully, because your words will always follow where your thinking leads. Another lesson worth carrying for the rest of your life is this: you do not need to speak in every conversation to create influence. Sometimes your greatest strength comes from observing carefully before joining the discussion. Sometimes your greatest contribution comes from asking one thoughtful question instead of offering 10 quick opinions. People remember those who add value, not those who simply add noise. As your thinking becomes stronger, something remarkable begins happening around you. People start trusting your judgment. They become interested in your opinion because they know it comes from careful consideration. Friends seek your advice during difficult moments. Family members become more comfortable sharing their concerns with you. Colleagues begin respecting your perspective because your words are dependable. None of this happens because you demanded respect. It happens because your daily habits quietly earned it. Real leadership often begins in ordinary conversations. It begins when you choose understanding over assumptions. It begins when you respond with maturity instead of impulse. It begins when your words help people move forward instead of holding them back. Leadership is not reserved for people with important titles. It belongs to anyone who consistently brings wisdom into everyday situations. Never forget that people are influenced more by consistency than by occasional brilliance. One impressive conversation may gain attention for a day. A lifetime of thoughtful communication builds trust that lasts for years. Your character becomes visible through repeated actions, and your words are one of the clearest expressions of that character. The greatest investment you can make is continuing to strengthen your mind. Read with curiosity. Listen with humility, observe with patience, reflect with honesty, practice with purpose. Those simple habits will continue sharpening your thinking throughout your entire life. As you leave this chapter, carry one final commitment with you. Refuse to allow hurried emotions, outside pressure, or unnecessary fear to choose your words. Make it your personal standard to think before speaking, understand before answering, and serve before trying to impress. Those choices will shape every relationship, every opportunity, and every future conversation. Years from now, people may not remember every sentence you spoke. They may forget the exact advice you gave. But they will remember how your words made them feel. They will remember that you listened carefully, spoke honestly, remained calm during difficult moments, and brought clarity when others felt uncertain. That kind of influence cannot be purchased, borrowed, or copied. It is built through a lifetime of disciplined thinking. Mastering the skill of thinking before speaking is not the end of your growth. It is the beginning of a new way of living. Every day becomes another chance to strengthen your mind. Every conversation becomes another opportunity to build trust. Every thoughtful response becomes another step toward becoming the person whose words carry lasting value. Continue that journey with patience, discipline, and purpose, and your voice will never simply be heard. It will be remembered because it always reflects a mind that chooses wisdom before words.